Hi, I'm Jeffrey Wells. I'm from Decatur, Illinois, and I'm a safety for the Saluki football team. I'm reading Added Twist, Scientist, written by Andrea Beauty and illustrated by David Roberts. Ada Marie, said not a word till she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world and not making a sound. She learned how to climb and to make a big break, with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day chasing each sound and sight, and did not slow down until she conked out at night. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would leave something to say when she ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" just as good parents should. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it granddaughter o'clock? Why are there pointy things stuck on a rose? Why are there 3 hairs inside your nose? She started with why, and then what, and then how, and then when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her parents dazed, and they watched her smile at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and they whispered, "She'll figure it out." Why, what, how, when, how does this work? Why won't this work? Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Even Miss Greer found out her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Ada was busy the first day of spring, testing the sounds that the mockingbird sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie!" said Ada, which got her thinking. What is the source of this terrible stinking? How does a nose know that there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to smell? She rattled off questions and tapped her chin. She start at the start, where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both stinking and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. Then, zowie! The stunk struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2. It's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. Then she started again, and her parents yelled, "Stop!" She tried to put the cat in the washing machine. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair, now. By the time we count to 3. "Enough," said her mother. "That's it," said her dad. "Why?" Ada questioned. Her mother yelled, "No." "What?" Ada queried. Her father said, "Go." You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. She sat there all alone, by herself in the hall, and Ada, once more, could say nothing at all. So Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat. And she thought about the science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such big mess. Does it have to be so? Is it part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking, Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked two. And each of those led her to her third questions more. And some of those questions resulted in four. She scribbled on her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway, and they just said gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The sinking chair was now the great sinking hall? They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was all about? They smiled and whispered, "We'll figure it out." And that's what they did, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and a heart that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in an act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asked lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in her heart of a young scientist. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? They will discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is a question, and someday, who knows? The end.